So my video about the Isle of Skye just went up. We had such a good week there earlier this year. We went over the last few days of March and the first few days of April, and we did it without a car, which is something most people have, and we did it without flying, which I imagine most people fly to Scotland to start it as well. And I realised that before we went there was no good advice on the internet about travelling Skye on a budget. Most people would just like, you rent a car, you do this, all these really expensive restaurants that you go to. I feel like we spent way less money than the average Skye visitor. Something to say first is that Skye is not a budget destination. There are way cheaper places that you can go to if you haven't decided where you're going to go. But if you're set on Skye, which is a more expensive destination than some, then these tips will help you to do it cheaper than most people. The major thing is to go in shoulder season, so just before or just after the main season. We had a crazy statistic that in July, Skye is the second most densely populated place in Scotland, behind only Glasgow. So go in the slightly off season where the weather is still not too bad, but at least you'll have more choices for places to go and things to see without being too busy. Accommodation in Portree books out way in advance of summer, and this brings the prices up obviously, and that applies to all other areas of things to do on Skye as well. The one time that we did eat in a cafe, we had to wait for a table, and this was in April, so I don't know how it is in July. So I think the absolute peak time to go is like late April. The puffins have arrived, there's more tourist services running, it's still not high season, and you might get a bit less rain than we did in early April. I don't know if it works like that. Now, getting to the glorious Isle of Skye, we took the option that the journey began in London, and we paid for the train as an overnight experience, seeing the beautiful countryside of Scotland go past out the train window. I know that's not a budget tip, but it was so worth it for something to spend money on if you're going to spend money on anything. You can fly EasyJet to Scotland for about £20, but the train was about £80 each way for us, and we got a little berth. And you could say it's better for the environment, you could say it's more traditional, but I just enjoyed it so much. We got the Caledonian Sleeper from London Euston to Fort William, and then when you're there you get the train from Fort William to Mallaig, which is on the Scottish coast, and that's the route where you go over the Glenfinnan Viaduct from Harry Potter, so that was cool. And then the Skye ferry from there to Armadale, that was about a £5, and then we got the bus from Armadale to Broadford, which is where we were staying for the first few nights, and that was about a £5 too. We were so lucky, there are so few bus services on Skye. Best resource for learning about this train trip is the Seat 61 website. I'll link to it. He has pages about the Deerstalker, which is the train over the Glenfinnan Viaduct, and the Caledonian Sleeper as well. And he has a really nice way of writing that convinces you to save the environmental degradation of flying and have a good time on a train instead. We spent £8 on train breakfast because I thought we'd get to eat in the dining car, and we didn't, so it was a complete waste of money. The food was like okay, but it came in loads of plastic and it was expensive, and it was not worth it. Bring plenty of water with you on the Caledonian Sleeper because they give you one little thing of drinking water. There's no drinking water from the taps, so if you haven't got enough water to last you all night, then you're going to be paying for it on the train. When you're looking at somewhere to stay on the Isle of Skye, it's best to stay somewhere that you can walk into central Portree from. Don't imagine there's like any great chains or shops or facilities there, but if there is anything on Skye, then it will be in Portree, so they have an ATM. Whatever bus services there are will go from there. There's a few places to eat. If you are renting a car, you can pretty much stay on anywhere on the island that you want and just bother to drive everywhere. But if you don't have a car like we didn't, it's best to stay in Portree. If you like camping, you can follow Scotland's wild camping law and camp almost anywhere you like for free as long as you abide by the rules. And to shower, you can actually pay to shower at the hostel in Portree, which is a really useful place because our Airbnb didn't have laundry, and we did our laundry there too. The key thing that you want to get is somewhere with a kitchen, really, and we didn't even do this. The only thing that we could prepare in our place was a kettle, so we were having ramen most days. As with anything on Skye, there are not many options for eating out, so there's quite high prices. You could either get an Airbnb with a kitchen or do a house sit if you could find one. But yeah, we just ate what we could prepare in our Airbnb, including packed lunches for days out, because that will get you. Now for groceries, there are two options. There's co-ops in Broadford and Portree. The option other than the co-ops is what you'll see on Skye a lot is Tesco delivery vans. Ever since the fixed link opened, this is apparently how most people on Skye get their groceries. So if you have your own place while you're on Skye, I would suggest booking a Tesco delivery with all the groceries that you want for like the day you arrive or the day after, so you don't have to spend time shopping for it, and you get more choice and it just gets taken to your door. I think that'd be way better. The only place we did eat out that I can recommend, we went to Cafe Ariba. This is where I had the vegan haggis alternative. It was pretty good, and the people are really nice. They put on a vegan option for me. They told us how long it would be till we got a table, and it only cost £12 for 2 people to eat out, which on Skye is not so bad. So money, obviously Scotland's in the UK, so if you're coming from the UK, you won't have any problem spending British cash. Also, the cash that you get out in Scotland is usable back down in England, which I was a bit worried about when I got these notes, and I was like, otters. There were a few places that had signs up saying please don't pay by card if you don't have to, because we have to pay the fees. So after that, we did get cash out from ATMs and pay in most places. To get out and get around for your time on Skye, there are two ways of looking at this. So I spent loads of time reading about Skye beforehand, and I really wanted to go and see the Kerrang, which obviously if we didn't rent a car is quite hard. So we paid £40 for a minibus tour, which was worth it, and we saw the Kerrang, we saw the ferry pools, anything you've heard of on Skye. He took us there. He was a really nice guy, and it was a fun day out. But I remember when we were driving around, and even when we got the bus from Broadford to Portree, I was looking out the window and I was like, how was that not the headline attraction on Skye? That is an amazing view, and we're just driving past it. It's hard to explain, but everywhere on the island is just so beautiful, and there's a few places like the ferry this, the ferry that have like become famous in terms of tourism, and yeah, for good reason. But there's so many other places on Skye. We would just drive past somewhere and I was like, why is that not a big tourist hotspot? Because that's an insane view that we're just ignoring. Yeah, the minibus tour was good, and we would have spent more time just in and around Portree if it wasn't for that. So, you know, you can make the choice if you don't have a car. But the other way to look at it is I spent a lot of time on all trails, and there's a few trail specific websites that are just for Scotland, and I found walks that were starting near where we were staying, and we had a few really good days just walking some of these, and we just got out in the Scottish countryside for free, and we saw these amazing views all by ourselves, and we bumped into a few locals on the routes and we chatted to them. It was just quite a nice thing to do, some smaller like 2 or 3 hour walks that we found online, and we had a really good time. Everywhere on Skye is beautiful. If you spent a few days on Skye outdoors, then you will have seen something as cool as the Kerrang. It's just guaranteed. But with that in mind, I did feel really completionist about wanting to go to the Kerrang specifically, and I'd heard that you can hitchhike on Skye really easily, and when we rented electric bikes, I spoke to the guy and I was like, is it that easy to hitchhike? Because I've heard it is. And he said, yeah, you can definitely hitchhike to the Kerrang, either with other tourists or locals who are going there. But we tried and we couldn't. Maybe in high tourist season you'd have more luck hitchhiking there. It's a free way to get there for a day, but it didn't work for us. The other expensive thing we did was we rented electric bikes from South Skye Cycles when we were in Broadford, and we cycled the road from Broadford to Loch Slappin, and that was so good. I know I said this is on a budget video, but I would not put a price on that experience. I think it was about £20 each to get the bike for the day, and it was so worth it. Yeah, other than cycling and the minibus tour, we spent most of our time walking around the towns that we were in, just on walking routes that we found online, and had a great time for free. One more thing that I think is great value, there are a lot of tour companies that do boat tours around the Bay of Portree, and even around one of the islands there, and they charge about £10 for a 2-hour boat trip where you can see seals, whales, puffins, eagles, which I think is just really good value, and it's definitely cheap enough to be part of a budget trip and sounds really fun. So we booked it, and the day that we did it was really rainy and it got cancelled, so I can't actually recommend any service, but I wish that we had done it. We left Skye the other way from Portree over the fixed link rather than the Armadale ferry on the south, and the bus ride from Portree over the fixed link through the mountains to Fort William was amazing. It was another time where I was like, well, how isn't this the famous destination? Forget Skye, we're driving past all these mountains, and everyone's just like on their phones, not looking out the window. Yeah, that bus ride was worth doing just for the views alone. If you're going to be getting the buses a lot in Scotland, like if you flew to Inverness and you got the bus to Skye both ways, or even it might count on the buses on Skye as well, there's something you can get called a Scottish Explorer Pass, which might work out cheaper if you're paying for a lot of single bus tickets. Yeah, that is it. It's not like it's that cheap a place to go, but it's so worth it. Cook for yourself, go on free walks, and you'll see just as good views anyway, and you'll have an amazing time. I wish I was going back. I'm jealous of you if you're watching this video and you're going to Skye. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see my video, a rail journey from the Isle of Wight to the Isle of Skye, that will be linked on the screen. I'm really proud of it. It's like one of my first videos of mine that I really like. So I hope you enjoy it too. Thanks.